you had this idea. I think you were looking at maybe some other folks that were doing brokerages a different way, and then you just decided to declare publicly that you were going to start from scratch. And I'm curious because for a lot of people, I think it would be kind of terrifying to decide to go into a business that they had never done before, even though you had industry experience. It was not at all related. Like the buying and fixing up and flipping a house is way different than having a real estate brokerage. Hey everybody, Roland Frasier here with another episode of the Business Lunch Podcast. And today I am super excited because I have a very, very special guest, good friend and business partner, Sam Khorramian, who is the co-founder and the CEO of Big Block Realty. And I think several other assorted businesses that have been acquired as a result of that brand, a SaaS, mortgage company, an escrow company, all kinds of businesses. Sam, welcome to the show.
Happy to be here, Roland. Thank you so much for bringing me back on the show, and very excited to chat with you and have some fun.
I like it. And I see you've got some of your young child's drawings from the refrigerator back posted up behind you there. You want to tell us about those?
Yeah, so my young child that made these artworks, his name is Kaz, and he's one of my favorite artists that's still living. Been collecting him for many, many years before all the hype, so they turned out to be some great investments as well.
Super cool. Yeah, I love giving you a hard time about that. So let's talk a little bit about. Let's just tell people a little bit about what you do. You know, kind of I'd love to hear like where you are now in the entrepreneurial journey, and then I'd like to kind of take some steps back.
For sure. So today, inside of my portfolio of businesses, I've taken a page out of Roland's book, which is not be in the business or on the business, but be above the business. And that has just been one of the best things that has happened to me as an entrepreneur. And it's allowed me to focus on big level, high level expansion, growth through acquisitions, consulting, and just a bunch of cool stuff. So today, inside of our core business, which is Big Block, I'm really focused on doing a roll-up where we're acquiring multiple different real estate service-based businesses, brokerages, mortgage, escrow, title, etc., and gearing that up to ultimately roll them up and do an IPO here in the next few years. Very, very excited about that. And just being in your world and understanding everything that is available to entrepreneurs like you and I, doing a lot of consulting for equity, acquiring businesses outside of the real estate space, working on a few roll-ups with you, and just loving every moment of it.
I love that. I love it. Let's talk a little bit about, because I've known you since before you started all of this, when you were kind of in the process of evolving your entrepreneurial vision. And I think it was 2014 when we first met at Traffic and Conversion Summit, when you were working with Deanna on helping us out with sales there. Is that correct?
Yeah. So was working with Deanna.
So we're 10 years in.
Yeah. I was working with Deanna for many years before that, and I always knew of this mythical human named Roland Frasier. And and Deanna called and said, "Hey, do you want to put a team together and help with Sales and Traffic and Conversion Summit?" And of course, we said yes. And after being a part of that, I was like, man, I got to be a part of Roland's mastermind. So made the decision to kind of jump in, and I joined the mastermind at that time. I think I told you this, with two goals. One was being in the right room with the right people, learn some good stuff that can help grow our business. And two was I'm going to figure out some way to be business partners with Roland Frasier. And fast forward now 10 years later, all of that has happened. We ended up on the Inc. 500 list, 26th fastest growing company in America a few years after taking all the genius that comes from you and the communities you put together, and kept that rolling for several years on the Inc. 500. And now business partners with you on several ventures, and life is great.
Love that. Love it. And so you were so did you join that mastermind before Jason's or same time, or how did that work?
So Jason's was before that. So I had like this transitionary period where prior to when I met you, I was an investor. I was flipping homes. So the first
Okay.
mastermind I was a part of was that, and it worked really well for me. And then as that, the markets were changing, I didn't know what I was going to do until we started Big Block, and then that's when I had the fortune of coming into your world.
So you had this idea. I think you were looking at maybe some other folks that were doing brokerages a different way, and then you just decided to declare publicly that you were going to start from scratch. And I'm curious because for a lot of people, I think it would be kind of terrifying to decide to go into a business that they had never done before, even though you had industry experience. It was not at all related. Like the buying and fixing up and flipping a house is way different than having a real estate brokerage. So, um, how did you conceive of that, and what were the fears and concerns that you had about going into it, and how did you get yourself to move past them and move forward?
Yeah. So being that I was in real estate, and I was phasing out of the flipping of homes, I asked myself, like, actually, let me rewind real quick. In the mastermind, the market was changing. So all the investors started talking about, instead of flipping homes, they're going to go buy large multifamily assets. And they kept talking about residual income. And that was a new concept to me back then. So, I didn't have the pockets that they had. At least I told myself I couldn't do that. And I thought to myself, well, I have a lot of relationships in real estate. And what can I do that can give me residual income that could be innovative and kind of change the way things are working in whatever industry or sector I decide to go into? And what can I do that really has the opportunity to be something very special? And I thought to myself, man, most of the deals I'm getting as an investor are coming from real estate agents. And I've never met a real estate agent that doesn't want to make more money. So I thought to myself, man, I bet you if we did a real estate brokerage, and instead of putting agents like they traditionally were on a 70-30 split or whatever the number is, man, I bet you if we gave them 100% commission and they paid us, let's say $300 a month, I bet you I could get a few hundred agents to do that. And I quickly, inside the mastermind, I popped up. I said, I'm going to do this. And half the people thought it was smart, and the other half thought that I was losing my mind.
That's fair. That's how you know you're on the right track. You need at least a few people that think you're crazy, or it's not going to be innovative enough, right?
Absolutely. So that was kind of like the thought process. And I'll tell you what I remember the most, and you kind of hinted to this, was I had so much imposter syndrome because I was like, man, I've never owned a brokerage. I've barely done work as an agent. And who am I to have agents that are twice my age come work at my company? And, is this going to work? And so many people told me, from my competition to my friends, man, you can't make money on 100% commission brokerage. But I just felt it in my bones, and the numbers, the pro forma, it added up. So I decided to go full force, and this is before I was really even into any sort of digital marketing. So I did what I knew best, which was just pick up the phone and get in those reps and make calls, and grew the company, pretty good in the first couple of years. And then once I joined your mastermind, I was at the time one of the only brokerages that was marketing on, digital platforms to recruit agents. And that completely, blew the company up, because we just had our acquisition system down, and we were recruiting like crazy. And then that evolved into, man, now we have the brokerage, right? And the brokerage has a bunch of agents, and the agents are working with clients that are going to end up using an escrow company, and they're going to end up using a property management company and a mortgage company. So all of a sudden we thought, man, here's the hub. We built a great hub. How can we figure out how to make more money off the things that we're already doing? And that's what spawned into, the conglomerate of all these different sectors inside of the real estate service business.
So you started by adding some of those things, but also then you multiplied that dramatically when you decided to own the back office as well. Will you kind of talk about how were you thinking about that, and how did that come around to get Sweet Assist involved into the mix?
Yeah, so it happened by chance where I knew a guy that was, funny enough, in the mastermind with me, the prior one. And that's the power of these masterminds. You just don't know.
Great networking opportunity.
Yeah, never know what's going to come from it.